Hey gamers, I'm really excited about doing this video. I've been looking forward to trying out Star Breach for quite a while. But before we do that, let me go ahead and explain to you sort of my quest and search for the perfect skirmish game. So for this past year in 2019, I would say the perfect skirmish game for fantasy is actually Warcry. If you haven't seen my video for that, go ahead and click here. But Warcry ended up being the perfect level of simplicity as well as elegance in the rule set and fun. So that is definitely my go-to game for fantasy skirmish battles. So for sci-fi, it's been a little bit harder of a road in trying to find the perfect rule set. And so I'm really excited to share with you Star Breach because I really love this game a lot. So to explain some of the background for how my journey brought me to this place, let me go ahead and explain that back when Kill Team first came out, I really thought that that might be the game that I've been looking for. But unfortunately, it wasn't, because it still used the D6 system, which I don't really like a lot, and it just has too many rolls, dice rolls, to resolve combat. So you can be rolling up to 4 times just to kill one of the units. And so for me, that just felt clunky. The rules were super bad and clunky. At the end of the day, even though I did play a lot of Kill Team, I just really was never that satisfied with it. So Dead Zone I had played before, and I really like that game a lot. And I would say that that is a 9 out of 10 in terms of sci-fi rule sets. Very simple and yet elegant. I love that the fact that they use D8s, that they have exploding dice. If you haven't checked out my comparison video between Dead Zone and Kill Team, go ahead and click here and you can see all of the reasons why I prefer Dead Zone over Kill Team. The only downside with Dead Zone is that no one I know plays that game here locally, and so it's a little bit difficult for me to actually play the game even though I like it a lot. So I went ahead and looked for other alternatives, and I really like the dice pool mechanic of bolt action and was interested in Conflict 47, which is bolt action but with some sci-fi elements to it. But the downside with Conflict 47 is that Osprey Gaming made an rules update for bolt action but didn't apply those updates to Conflict 47. So I was just going to wait before investing into buying all their miniatures for them to update that rule set. But in the meantime, I heard about Beyond the Gates of Antares, which uses a dice pool system. But after listening to some podcasts and checking out the game, I found that the rules are actually still pretty complicated and seemed a little bit bloated to me. So I passed on Beyond the Gates of Antares. So then I turned to those who made Songs of Blades and Heroes because it has a really simple and elegant rule set, and they came out with a sci-fi version called Mutants and Death Ray Guns. But I was super disappointed with that. I didn't like the rule set at all, and again, I did a review video you can check out here to see sort of why I didn't like that rule set. Finally, I thought maybe the new rules regarding Necromunda Dark Uprising might have simplified some of the rules and might have been the Warcry equivalent of maybe Kill Team or 40K. But unfortunately, Necromunda Dark Uprising is just Kill Team rules slapped onto Necromunda. In the meantime, I had painted up 5 factions for Kill Team. Not so much because I was playing Kill Team at the time, but more because I was excited about Games Workshop models. I really like them a lot. They're basically the industry standard for really cool miniatures, but really had no rules that I was playing with and was investing all of my time playing Warcry instead. So at the end of 2019, I had heard about Star Breach from one of my viewers who made a comment, and I also knew that Uncle Adam from Tabletop Minions mentioned Star Breach, and so I went ahead over to the website and I downloaded their free rules. Elijah Kellogg is the author of these rules, and his commitment to providing these rules to anyone for free is awesome. And so he made a rules video. If you want to check that out, go ahead and click here, explaining the rules, and it looked really simple and elegant and exactly what I was looking for. So at the end of 2019, he had a Fund Me campaign, and so I grabbed a couple of dice and was able to try out the game. And since then, Elijah has partnered with Slow Death Games, and they are taking over the production and marketing for the material. And currently they are having a Kickstarter for the softcover version of the deluxe rulebook. There is no difference between the deluxe and the free rule set except for just pictures being added. So you're getting exactly the same, but if you want a printed version and a softcover one at that, or you want to pick up some more dice, go ahead and look at the descriptions below where I have a link. If the Kickstarter is over, I think you can just order directly from Slow Death Games. I'm not 100% sure, but that's definitely an option for you. So I've had a chance to play a few times with this rule set, and I want to tell you right now that I love the rule set. I think it is exactly what I was looking for as a replacement for Kill Team, and even edges out Dead Zone. I'm not going to go through the rules per se, because Elijah's video does a good job explaining the rules. But what is lacking right now is a playthrough video, and so what I'm going to provide is just a quick playthrough showing how you come up with all of the modifiers and looking at the stat cards for each of the units and how that applies, so that you get a sense of how the gameplay actually works and how it feels. So I'll go through that, and then at the end of the video, give you my final thoughts and review. So here's a comparison between the dice, and as you can see, even though there are 4 that overlap, there are 2 that really doesn't. So it really isn't possible to use bolt action dice for Star Breach. And you can use just regular D6s since they are all numbered. You just have to remember what they are, and on the quick reference sheet it tells you what each of the numbers are, and you'll be able to memorize that pretty quickly. But it's nice to have, I think, the proprietary dice for this game. Alright, so here's the setup at the table, and what I did was print out the demo sheets of already configured warbands, and this one is the Legion of Mankind, and they are only 90 UC. A typical game is 120, so they're a little bit smaller than what is standard, but this will give you a good idea of how the gameplay works. So these are basically my Space Marines, and I have them here on the board. Pretty much I have my Alpha as well as 2 corporals and then some regular soldiers, and then this is my chaplain, who is also a psychic, and then I have a support mech right here. This should be a dreadnought, but I don't have dreadnought miniature, so that'll have to stand in as a mech. Here on this side we have the Hive, so my Tyranid army. I'm using these figures, and so again we have an Alpha here, as well as a number of close combat, which are my Gene Stealer models, and then a couple of soldiers with needle rifles, which are these guys right here. So I did have a, also I have a Reaper here represented by this whip, and then a Brood Mother, which is back here. She has the ability to lay eggs and spawn more grunts. So that's an interesting dynamic, and here I am using my terrain set from Warcry. So all of the dice, there is a corresponding dice to each one of the miniatures, and so I'm just using my newly printed Mythic mug, which I'll be making a video later on reviewing that. But I'm using that to draw my dice. So let's go ahead and get started and see who gets to go first. So it is going to be the Hive that goes first. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and choose the, actually this is the fire action, and so my Alpha here, primary weapon, is going to be a spike cannon. It has a range of 30, and he's going to go ahead and shoot the Alpha of the Legion of Mankind here, who's going to have cover. So as long as a quarter or 25% of the model is behind cover, they will get a +1 to their defense roll. So let's go ahead and calculate what their base initiative is. And so this Alpha base initiative is 6. So I'm going to use these green die just to keep track of what their initiative is going to be. And then the Alpha is 3 inches higher than that model over there, he's going to get a +2 for high ground. So I'm going to add 2 more here. And then let's see if there's any other modifiers that's going to affect. So here's a +2 for high ground. Well, let's see if the target is within half range of the weapon's max, because it's 30 here. So as long as the range falls within 15 and it's slightly longer than 15 inches, so not going to get that bonus. So right now this Taskmaster stands at an 8 base initiative. Let's go ahead and go over here to the Sergeant, and he starts off with a base 5 initiative, and like I mentioned before, he's going to get a bonus for being behind cover, partial cover, so he will be bumped up to 6. So now what we do is we gather the dice, and so this is going to be for the Hive and the red is going to be for the Legion of Mankind, and roll that. And so what we have is a tie, 6 and a 6. So what that means is we add the 8 with the 6 here to make that 14. And then this is 12. So the Taskmaster actually succeeds in hitting. So what we do is there's a difference of 2 points, because this is 14 versus 12. But what we also add to that 2 is the +6 for damage, and that makes it 8. So the armor here is 5, soaks up 5 of the 8. So he's going to take 3 points of damage. And his total hit points is 10. So he has 7 left. This weapon only shoots once, and so his attack is finished. And it is going to be the Legion of Mankind's turn, and he is actually going to shoot back. So now what he could have done to increase his initiative is he could have, as soon as he declared him as a target, he could have pulled out a die and chosen to drop down. And what that does is it gives him a +2 to his initiative for dropping down. But the reason why I didn't do that is because that takes his turn. Once you place a drop down die next to a character, they can't take another action for this entire round. So I wanted him to be able to shoot back. So what the Legion of Mankind is going to do is he's going to do something rather than a straight fire. He's going to do cover fire, which is this symbol, the number 3. And what cover fire means is he's basically shooting an area. So it affects a group of enemies rather than just one. But he is at a -2 initiative because he's sort of shooting haphazardly. But he's going to center it right here, and any enemy models within 2 inches is actually going to be affected, and we're going to roll separate rolls for each one of them. So since his weapon that he's shooting for cover is right here, he actually gets 2 attacks per model. So 2 rolls per model rather than just 1. So he's going to go ahead and do his cover. So again, he starts with 5. -2 is going to make this 3. So that's his base initiative. And then here for all of these models, we have 1 of each. We have a drone right here, and he's going to have a base of 4, but he's behind cover. There's more than a quarter of him behind cover here, and so he's going to get a +1, so that'll make him a 5. This soldier, drone Y with a needle rifle right here, he also is behind cover, especially because his friendly is providing cover for him. So he's going to get a +1 to his base 3. So that'll make him 4. And then finally, this Reaper is also behind cover, so is going to get +1 as well to make that a 5. So let's go ahead and resolve this all together. We're going to roll this for the alpha and then roll this first for the drone right here. And we're going to roll this twice. So the first time, oh, gets hit. And so again, I can choose to drop down if I want to, but this is going to do quite a bit here. So this is 15 versus 12. So that's a difference of 3. And then if you attach the +4 damage, that's going to be 7 points of damage. Now let's see how much armor is only 3. So he's going to take 4 points of damage. So he's down to half his hit points. Now one of the rules is if you do take a hit from cover fire, you are forced to take a down action. So let's go ahead and grab one of these. And his turn is taken by him being forced to go down. So he's immediately down. Now, it's bad because that takes up his turn, but it's good because for the second attack, because remember, there's 2 rolls that we have to do because of this weapon having 2 attacks, he will get a +2 for being down. So now he is at 7. But that's not going to help him. He's still going to get hit because of these bad rolls. And so it is going to be 11 to 10. Oh, not that bad of a difference. It's just 1 point of difference. 1 point plus 4 damage, which is 5 total. With armor 3. So he's going to take 2 more points of damage and have only 2 left. Now, once a character gets down to 3 or less hit points, they're going to take a -2 to initiative as well as -2 to their movement. So that's going to affect him. So that's just this character. We're going to go ahead and move over to this drone Y, who is at 4. And again, we're going to just roll dice. I'll go ahead and risk it. I was thinking about going ahead and going down to get a +2 to this defense roll, but I think I'll just go ahead and risk it and see what happens. So I think my risk paid off because he won by having 12 versus 9, and so the hit, it fails to hit him, but we have to roll that again a second time. And let's see, does this hit? This is a 12. 12 versus 12. So in the case of ties, the defender actually wins. So it fails to hit him at all. So he's safe. And then let's go ahead and roll for him. And he also is going to stay up. So his initiative again is 5. And his initiative will stay at 3. Oh, I think he's going to hit him, because this is 14 versus 12. And so he is hit with a difference of 2 points. Again, we add the 4 to that to make that 6, minus 5 armor, which will be just 1 point of damage. But the bad thing about this is because he was hit, he is going to be forced to go down. And that's a bummer because it takes up his turn. And then we roll again. But this time, he's going to have a +2 for being down. And he's going to succeed at blocking. So his turn is over. One of the things that I forgot to do when I activated my sergeant is that he has natural leader 2, which here on the alpha skills page shows that a soldier must first possess this. Instead of drawing only 1 additional order die for their warband, the player draws 2 and assigns these as well. So basically his leadership enables him to draw 2 more of these order die, not randomly, but just from the bin, and assign them so that he can activate 2 other people after him. I forgot to do that, so let's go ahead and just draw randomly, and I'll just try to remember to do it for next time. But that is some of the alpha skills. You want to look this page up and see what various skills. So for example, here the Taskmaster has the Deadeye and the Psychic Prowess, which I should have used the Deadeye, just increase his initiative by 1. So he would have taken 1 more point of damage, but let's go ahead and move forward. So another hive person will activate. Go ahead and advance. So this is the advance, which basically, let's stick it here on him, and their movement is 6. So what advance does is it doubles the movement, so that's going to be 12, and enables you to engage in close combat. The only way that you can get within base to base is to use an advance action. So let's go ahead and measure it out. I'm pretty sure that he is within 12. And how you deal with vertical movement is you just assume that everyone is able to climb, so it's a little bit less than 10 to here, and then 3 more up. That gets him close enough there. So he's going to come up here and engage. Oh, one thing I forgot. When you declare an advance, try to engage, he has the option of actually shooting and trying to stop him. So he's going to actually do that. So I declare advance, he's going to shoot. So I pull out one of the red die, and he's going to go ahead and I'm going to set it on shoot. So he has a chance of actually hitting him. So let's go ahead and set our base initiative. So for this regular private, it's 3, but he has higher ground, so he gains a +2, and so that makes this a 5. And then for this Gene Stealer, let's see, it has an initiative of 4. I'm going to keep it at 4 for now. And you take the shot before he actually moves. So let's see if he gets a bonus for range. He would get a +1 if he was within 9 inches, which he was a little bit beyond that, so he's not going to get that +1 advantage. So he's just going to attack at a 5. So let's go ahead and roll. But he will get +1 to the initiative for being behind cover, so this will actually turn into a 5. Alright, so I'm pretty sure that he misses his shot. 11 to 13, so definitely misses. So he is able to go up here and is going to make a melee attack. So how you do close combat is a little bit different from shooting. Base 4, like we said before, but has a +1 initiative in close combat. So we'll go to 5. I'm going to go ahead and use this special ability that says once per game, before making a single attack roll or combat roll, the player may declare they're using the toxin sack. And basically it ignores their armor. So let's go ahead and do that for this attack. Or actually, you know what? I'm not going to use it for this attack. I'm going to wait and see if I can win this first round. And then for this soldier, he starts off with 3 and +1 in initiative and close combat. Okay, so +1 initiative makes it 4. So let's go ahead and roll. And I think the Legion of Mankind is going to win with a 9 versus an 8. So in close combat, the defender can actually win. And that's the case here where the defender won against the roll. And unfortunately, though, he only won by 1 point. So you add the damage here, which is +2, which is 3. And the drone has an armor of 3, so no damage was done. But he was the winner of the hand-to-hand combat, and right now he has 3 choices that he can make. One is to push the opponent who attacked him 2 inches away, and that would cause him to fall down there. He could disengage and move 2 inches away, which he doesn't want to do. Or he can choose to attack again with the loser going -2 to their initiative, and that's what he's going to do. So he's going to reduce his initiative down to 3, and his stays the same. So he's just going to hit him back. And let me see here. So it is 9 versus 10. So this time the Gene Stealer won, but again only won with 1 extra point of damage. So that would be 5. 5 minus the 2 armor. So he's going to take 3 points of damage and has a total of 8. So he has 5 left. Now the winner here has a choice and actually will attack, but because he won, he goes back to his normal 5. And his drops down 2, so we'll go down to 2. And we roll again. And the Gene Stealer, I'm pretty sure, is going to win with a 11 versus a 6. So that beats by 5 points. So 5 plus the 4 there, which is 9 points of damage, where his armor is 4, so soaks up 4. So he's going to take 5 more. And that 5 more would normally kill him, but there is an ability here that once per game, before applying damage to a soldier, the player may add to the soldier +2 armor value. So this is a once per game ability. He's going to do that in order to stay alive, and so that basically reduces him down to 2 points left, so he stays alive. 3 close combat rolls are the max, and once 3 of those happen, they are forced to separate by 1 inch apart, so that they're 2 inches apart each. And most likely he would fall down because he was over the edge. You only take falling damage if you fall 4 inches or more, so he's okay right there. But that enables him to be separated. Let's go ahead and draw another order die. Let's go ahead and activate the Chaplain, and he's going to make a psychic attack, and he has all the abilities from the School of Order. So let's go ahead and move over here. So he's going to attempt to mend, which is a power level 9 ability, and that is going to heal. So what he wants to do is heal his main alpha, since he took 3 points of damage. And what he does is, let's go ahead and check out his initiative. So the Chaplain base initiative is going to be 4. Service medal here grants +1 initiative to the soldier for the entirety of the battle. So he's going to change that to a 5 and attempt the roll, which basically is a level 9, and all he has to do is roll a 9, which he does. So it's 12 that he rolled, so he definitely succeeds, and he's going to heal this alpha 4, which basically heals him up all the way. So that is his turn. So another one of the Hive, use my Brood Mother. What she's going to do is cast Evolve, which is a power level 12. So let's look at her initiative, which is a 5. And I don't think she gets any bonuses, but she is going to cast Evolve her through this door. Is going to be able to see him and try to evolve him. So need a 12. And definitely gets it, rolls a 15. So that evolves that Gene Stealer for +1 movement, +1 initiative, and +1 armor value. So that will set him up to actually be able to charge in and hit the mech. He's going to basically engage with him. He has no ranged weapon, so can't really shoot, but already took an action anyway. So, and his movement, their movement is 5, so double that is 10. That's definitely enough to get him here, to come in and charge here. And he only has 2 hit points left anyway, so this should be an easy kill. So he's going to go ahead and attack, and the fact that he's down doesn't really matter. So they're going to actually fight each other. So normally the Gene Stealer is at a 4, but because it has 3 or less hit points, it's walking wounded. It's going to have a -2 to its initiative. So from 4 to 2. So let's go ahead and grab the dice. Although it does have +1 initiative in close combat, so actually that's going to be a 3. And I also think the Corporal, yes, +1 initiative in close combat as well. So I'm going to go to 5. Alright, so let's go ahead and roll. So Gene Stealer got a 10, Corporal got an 11, which is 1 more. So damage will be a +2. So that is 3. But the armor is 3, so there's no damage done. But he did win, so he's going to go ahead and choose to attack again. And this time, the defender drops down to 2, so actually initiative becomes a 1. So here is 10 versus 8, so it loses by 2 points. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Only takes 1 point of damage. Almost dead though. And so the Marine still won, so he's going to go ahead and choose for a final attack. And gets, the Gene Stealer gets a 10 versus the Corporal, which has 11, so he beats it. But only will do 3 points of damage. Armor soaks it up. He survives. Now they have to separate an inch away each, so they're 2 inches apart. And that is done. So I think he's going to activate as the mech and will basically shoot. And I don't think that Gene Stealer down there gets any cover, because you can see that a quarter of his body is not behind cover. So the thing about mechs is that they have 2 weapons, and they can fire their primary weapon twice, or their primary weapon and their secondary weapon once. And that's what he's going to do. He's going to go ahead and shoot his primary weapon first, the ion cannon. And his initiative is at a 4. And this Gene Stealer is at a 4 as well. But he is dropped down, so he will get a +2 to his initiative, which is 6. Okay, this doesn't look good for the mech. And definitely he prevails in not getting hit. But his secondary weapon actually gets 2 shots. So these are the same initiative values. But we're going to roll twice. So this is 7 versus 9. So he still blocks it. Second roll. And definitely blocks it. So no hits from the mech. There's 2 other orders that we haven't done yet, and the first one is called the Advance order. And so here you move up to your maximum movement value and you fire with a -1 initiative when making an attack or psychic roll, and that's because if you move before shooting, you have a -1 to your initiative because you aren't able to hit as accurately. And so this guy's movement is up to 6, so let's say he moves up here and then fires here. So that is the advance. Just remember the -1 modifier to initiative. Now the Legion of Mankind, basically one of their abilities is that they are able to move. No -1 initiative modifier applied for moving and shooting. And that's true as well for all mechs. Mechs don't have to take the -1 because they have targeting hardware and software. So that's that penalty doesn't apply to mechs. The other command that I haven't used yet is the mend. So let's pretend that this Marine here didn't have a command yet, and so I can choose instead to do that. And all you do is you roll a d6, and that's how many hit points that he gains. So that's an action that's available as well. So let's go ahead and say that everyone went and did their turns, and it's the end of the order phase. And next you go to the special actions phase. You have 4 different options of what you can do, and you pick 3 of your units, which have to be the alpha or specialists. And here are the options. You can focus fire, you can mend, you can assault, or you can ambush. And these are basically highlighting that your special characters can do an additional action. So this takes the place of sort of command actions that you have in Kill Team, and so, or the bonus dice that you have for Dead Zone. And you start with alternating turns. You don't pull dice because you've already pulled all of them out of the bag, but you start with the side that didn't pull the first die, and then you go back and forth. So the first die that we pulled was actually for the Hive, and so the Legion of Mankind are going to be able to go first. So let's go ahead and give the Alpha a special action, and he's going to go ahead and assault. It's like a normal assault action, but you don't get to move double your speed. So fortunately for him, he is within 5 inches of this Gene Stealer, so he's just going to go ahead and move forward and do an assault action. So I'm not going to roll through all of the actions, just going to show you basically what they can do. And then you can put a little marker as a reminder that he did an action, although for the most part you're going to be able to remember who did these special actions. And then you're going to alternate over to the other side, and I'm going to have my Taskmaster go ahead and do the focus fire. Now the difference between focus fire and the regular fire action is that you get rid of all of the modifiers for the defense roll, because they are taking an aim shot basically. So even though this guy already during his turn did his action, he's going to focus fire again on him. And so any bonuses that he would have had for being down or for being behind cover is negated. So it's just a straight roll. So let's go back over here, and I'll give my mech the ambush option. And so I'm going to go ahead and just use this die, and you can use any token to show that this guy is in ambush mode. So basically, whenever the Hive player does an action or starts moving one of the characters, he can interrupt and basically either choose to shoot or to assault or do any of those things. So you just replace this thing with a shoot or an assault action. And like, let's say this guy is moving across the field and he says stop right there, and he chooses to get a clear shot and shoots him, right? Or assaults and moves forward and engages in hand-to-hand. So that's basically the ambush special action. And then finally, you can choose to mend. And this mend is exactly the same as the regular mend action, and you roll a d6, and that's how many hit points that they heal. Remember the special abilities for each warband. So the Hive Mind, if the Alpha is killed, then it's pretty devastating because their initiative values are instantly dropped to 1. So losing the Hive Mind is pretty devastating, so you really want to protect the Alpha. And then also, at the beginning of each round, and I didn't do this at the beginning of this demo, but 3 of the soldiers can move 3 inches in any direction to get free movement. So here with the Legion of Mankind, once per turn, whenever someone takes a fire order, another additional soldier can also be assigned a fire order as well. And then also, again, Legion of Mankind doesn't suffer the -1 initiative modifier for moving and shooting. If you're handling only one warband rather than the 2 that I'm trying to do, you'll be able to remember these things pretty easily. So hopefully that shows you and gives you a sense of how the game plays and sort of the basic flow of the game as well. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't show, for example, psychic blocks or counters, also the additional mech rules, but again, check out Elijah's video for that. So first of all, what do I like about this game? Number 1, free rules. Elijah Kellogg is committed to always providing free rules. Even as he updates the rules, he's going to make them free for everybody, and I like that. This game can be an expensive hobby and can be restricting to those who don't have the resources to invest in it. So the fact that the rule set will always be available for free, I really like that commitment from Elijah. So definitely be supporting him as much as possible. Also, the rules are pretty simple, and out of the entire rule book, you only need to print out 10 pages of the base rules. And so the rest of it are reference sheets and army lists and things like that. And so you really only need, in terms of the core rules, 10 pages, which is really good, and it's simplified. You also want to print out the summary sheet as well as the alpha abilities. But other than that, it's pretty simple to get. I also really like the dice pool mechanic. Again, this is from Bolt Action, where it's unpredictable whether or not you're going to have a turn. So it's not you go, I go. And that unpredictability, I really like that a lot. I also like the fact that it is not a D6 system. It is a 2D6 system. And so that provides actually a nice little bell curve in terms of the average of what you're going to roll, and yet at the same time provides a wider range that you can work with. And so I like that it's not a D6. Resolving battles, it's only 2 rolls, the attack roll and then the defense roll. And so that makes it quick and simple. None of this 4 rolls that you have in Kill Team, and that had to happen. So for me to like the rule set, it had to be a simpler resolution of the dice. Obviously, having flexible terrain that you can use as well as miniature, since it's miniature agnostic. As much as I like the grid system in Dead Zone where you don't need to use tape measures, I actually want to be able to use a tape measure and be able to use all of the terrain, and it opens up more possibilities. You're not quite restricted to the grid system and the terrain that you have in Dead Zone. Elijah came up with a lot of different factions, and so I really like that a lot. This enables me to actually get into buying the Sisters of Battle from GW and use the Inquisitor army list that Elijah came up with. And so I can use all 5 of my current factions and even add more because there are plenty of army lists. Now, I don't know how well balanced the army lists are since I haven't played that many, but the fact that those options are available actually gets me excited too. And there's a lot to the rulebook as well. There's a section about how to run your own tournaments, about campaign play, as well as a lot of different scenarios. Now, this game plays 6 rounds, and it's based off of points. And so it isn't just whoever kills most of the other guys, but there's objectives and all that kind of stuff, which I really like a lot. I think having the special actions phase is really good too, as a replacement for the commands in Kill Team or the special dice that you roll in Dead Zone. So having the opportunity to have your specialists as well as your alpha do some extra actions at the end of the order round is really an elegant and cool dynamic that enables you to do some bonus things, which is great. And Elijah did really think thematically for each faction some unique abilities that they have, and I think it fits really well thematically, as well as the unique psychic abilities for each faction too. For example, for the Hive, they have a psychic ability which allows them to burrow and go underground and then pop up somewhere else, which is awesome, and it just fits the warband so well. So Elijah thought through really well in filling out the special abilities as well as psychic abilities for each of the factions. So let's get into a little bit of some of the features that I didn't like. And the first one is, and I know that the goal was to simplify the rules, but I think there are a couple of rules that are actually missing from the rule book. So Elijah, if you're going to come out with a 2nd edition, please include some of the rules where users are asking questions online. So for example, even while I was making this video, there was 2 rules that I had to go online and find out about. The first one was, how does cover fire work with multi-shot weapons? And then secondly, how do you determine the turn order for your special actions? So those were things that I had to find out. Also, there's no rules regarding when a unit shoots from behind a wall in terms of cover rules. I know a lot of other systems say as long as you're within an inch, you get the benefit of cover, but that doesn't provide cover for the person that you're shooting at. So some of those things I think would help fill out the rule set a little bit, but again, I know that the goal of the rule set was to make it simple and for us as players to have the flexibility to house rule some things if it wasn't that clear. The second thing that I sort of wish was available in the rule set is some concept of exploding dice or critical hits. So for example, something that is equivalent to the exploding 8s in Mantic's system, which I really like a lot. So when you roll an 8, you add another die and you roll that, and so you can have this chain of exploding dice. I don't know how you do that in a 2d6 system. Maybe you just go with critical hits if you roll a 12, 2 6s, then there's an additional damage or something like that, I'm not sure. Or even critical misses, if you roll snake eyes, something bad happens. So I know that I can definitely house rule that, but having some kind of bonus effect when you are in combat, I think that would be cool. This is more of a wish thing, but someone out there who plays Star Breach and loves it as much as I do and has ability with Photoshop, could you please make a template where I can take a photograph of my miniature and then drop in that photo onto a unit card template that I can type in all of the stats and everything like that. I know that there's fan-made stat cards available for a lot of games, so anyone who can do that, please do that. That would be amazing. I mean, that's pretty much it in terms of the things that I don't like, and it's not even necessarily a fault of the system, but some of them are just wishes that I have personally. I do think that the rules as is very, very good. I didn't have a lot of questions reading through it. So my conclusion is that Star Breach is an amazing game system and is my replacement for Kill Team. Now, I will say that Star Breach isn't the 10 out of 10 that Warcry is for fantasy skirmishes. I would say that Star Breach is a 9 out of 10. Similar to Dead Zone, which I would say is also a 9 out of 10. And in comparison, Kill Team, I would say, is a 6 out of 10. So why is it not a 10 out of 10? And I would say the only reason why it's not a 10 out of 10, even though I like everything else, is figuring out your initiative can be complicated, and that you have to factor in or figure out what your base initiative is for almost every attack or even defense slows down the gameplay a little bit, just a little bit. I still think it's a better system than Kill Team, but because I have Dead Zone as a comparison where anytime you get a bonus, you just throw in another D8. And that just is so simple and elegant in terms of modifiers. So if I didn't have that to compare to, I don't think I would have known that there was a better system. And this is pretty much as good of a system and simple of a system as you can get. And the reference card tells you what all of the modifiers are, and there aren't a ton of them. But still, you know, trying to figure out what your base initiative is before you roll the dice does take a little bit of time, more time than I wish it did. And that's the only reason why it's a 9 out of 10 rather than a perfect 10 out of 10. But I will say that I will be playing Star Breach way more than Dead Zone, and am excited about being able to incorporate all of my Kill Team models with all these different factions, and to purchase or maybe even 3D print the Sisters of Battle as an Inquisition faction, and also to be 3D printing out some more terrain. So I've been waiting for a system just like Star Breach. I want to encourage you also, if you've been waiting for something simpler and more elegant than Kill Team, to check out Star Breach and to support them. Again, go to their Kickstarter. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm definitely planning on having some follow-up videos for this game for Star Breach, especially terrain or what kind of models to purchase if you don't have any. Go ahead also and check out my Patreon page to see what giveaway we have for this month. Every month on my Patreon, we have a raffle drawing for either giving away some terrain or some games or things like that. So make sure you check that out. Otherwise, happy gaming, and we'll see you next time.